Adirondack Broadcasting proudly presents Community Issues. This is our long-running local public affairs program addressing the needs of our North Country community.
Morning and welcome to Community Issues on the Adirondack Broadcasting family of radio stations. My name is Mike Morgan. We're excited because this is kind of our first program back after the long break with the COVID-19. And we have a lot of guests here with us. We are talking on the phone with the folks from the Adirondack Health Institute and organization, and we are speaking with Kelly Owens, who's the program manager for Clear the Air in the Southern Adirondacks. Nancy Gildersleeve, she's the executive director of the Adirondack Health Institute. We got Joey Boswell on the line. He is the community engagement coordinator for the Clear the Air group. And Mary Rudinger, who's also with the group and a part of the reality check portion of. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Thanks for calling in today.
No, thank you very much for having us.
Kelly, we'll start with you. Maybe you could start off because there's going to be a lot of listeners who are not going to know anything about the Adirondack Health Institute. Can you give us a layman's term on exactly some of the things that you do there?
Sure. So Erotic Health Institute is a nonprofit that founded in 1987, so we've been around a while. We support hospitals, physician practices, behavioral health providers, and community-based organizations in our region to transform healthcare and the delivery system and improve population health. I've been fortunate to be an employee of AHI for about 10 years at this point.
And you're located physically. You have offices right here in the city of Glens Falls, correct?
That is correct. We do, right on Ridge Street.
How many people are employed by the Adirondack Health Institute?
At this point, I believe about 50.
Okay. And so you guys do a lot of work.
60.
Did you guys get into the whole COVID-19 health part of things or not? Was that completely separate from what you do?
That primarily has been separate from what we do.
Okay. Well, here's just to explain to listeners who might be tuning in here this morning. We're speaking to the folks from the Adirondack Health Institute. We initially booked the show a while back, many weeks ago, when the COVID-19 was not such a big issue. And we're here to talk about some of the new programs that the New York State Legislature had enacted over the last couple of months, and some new laws coming up soon here. But before we jump into the new regulations coming up as of July 1st, Kelly, tell us about the ban on flavored e-cigarettes and tobacco products at pharmacies in New York State. Now, that happened back in May, correct?
That is correct. So on May 18th, the sale of tobacco and vapor products was no longer permitted at pharmacies, which is a big change. It's an important change because selling tobacco products at pharmacies has really been sending a contradictory message for a very long time when you're selling tobacco and vapor products alongside of medicine and products for illnesses that may be caused by or made worse by tobacco. And there's also, recently, there's a flavored vapor product ban as well, which came into effect on May 18th, and that's in any retail environment. So it's pharmacies, convenience stores, grocery stores, anywhere that vapor products were sold, no longer flavored vapor products can be sold.
Now, since the law took effect on May 18th, what's been the feedback, if any, on your end?
I think across the state, it is a big change because, as we know, teens and kids were actually going towards those products, and that's kind of where our work has kind of shifted a little bit, especially with the Bureau of Tobacco Control and in just tobacco control in general. Is our whole entire purpose is try to keep those kids safe. And to try to get them not addicted to the nicotine products, which is kind of the big tobacco's wish right now. They need to generate a new clientele. So they knew that, flavors, and we've seen this in the past, even with traditional tobacco, that flavors hook kids. The flavors get them to at least try the product. So flavored vape products were kind of a new hit for the tobacco company as well as, our teen generation right now. So it's really nice to now know that, we won't have any sale of flavored tobacco or flavored vapor products, I should say. So we were keeping those kids safe in our communities.
Now, here's a question. Mary, you're involved with the reality check groups, and those are, I think a lot of folks are familiar with the reality check groups in the local high schools. With this extended break from school, obviously that must have affected, getting together with the kids and helping them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Fortunately, we've been able to take a lot of things virtual. So typically we do a big meeting in May for the Altria shareholders meeting. We go to Richmond, Virginia, and we kind of protest and express that the acquisition of Juul was not great for youth. But this year we were able to transition that online. And we did a Mobilize Against Tobacco Lies week. So youth involved in Reality Check every single day had a different activity that they could do. We had different presentations, a scavenger hunt on the weekend. So it's really fun. A lot of good things going on. Aside from that, we've been keeping in touch with the youth and just looking forward to when things return to a little bit more normal so that we can have our meetings in person again.
If you're just tuning in this morning, you're listening to Community Issues on the Adirondack Broadcasting Stations. We're speaking with the group from the Adirondack Health Institute, Kelly Owens, Nancy Gildersleeve, Joey Boswell, and Mary Rudinger. Mary, you can also hit on this. I am looking at your press release where you're saying you have statistics that say nearly 40% of high school seniors in New York State use e-cigarettes or vaping. Is any new statistics there, or is that pretty current? That seems pretty high.
That is the most recent statistic that we have as of this point. Honestly, what I've heard from my youth is that potentially that number could be even higher, unfortunately. So that's just what they're seeing and telling me among their classmates. And the numbers that we do have is kind of a self-answer whether you do or not. It's not definitive completely. So it is a huge problem, especially in our communities.
And what have you seen or heard from some of the high school students during this extended school break, which threw everybody out of whack between the students, the teachers, the parents? Is it there's more vaping going on? There's more opportunity for kids to pick up that kind of bad habit, or is there less because they're home? What's the feel out there?
It's been more so concern from teachers, family, that kids are able to vape more because they're home all the time. Most of the kids involved in Reality Check do not vape because we're trying to pass along that message that, hey, Big Tobacco is just trying to attract you as a youth and draw you in to buy their product for the rest of your life. So most of the youth that I've spoken with have expressed concern that their friends and family who have vaped, because of the stress and anxiety currently around COVID-19, has increased use. So we're hopeful that with this flavor restriction, that will decrease use, because we know that the majority of kids that start vaping start with a flavored product.
And now that it's summer and some of the restrictions are being lifted, Mary, do you, and kids are getting back together with their friends, I think, more often. I think even driving around the North Country, I'm seeing more teens hanging out and being, much like it was prior to the whole pandemic. Do you see this being a problem as we move into the summer months?
I guess we'll have to see. I think some of the issue is being resolved because of the flavor restrictions. We had a huge win in November as well, which restricted the age of sale to 21 years old. So we saw with youth at that point a huge concern from people that vape. I had a lot of youth come to me and say, my friend is trying to quit and they need the cessation advice or product. So that was great, and I think we're just continuing to make steps in the right direction.
Hey, Kelly, as far as the vaping products go, I know you've been successful here in New York State, ending their sale at all pharmacies. Is there also these products still pretty prevalent at convenience stores as well?
The vape products now, the non-flavored vape products, yes. They are at the convenience stores, and that's an area that, that's still a big concern. We know a lot of students, youth do frequent convenience stores, so they are exposed to that. Tobacco is still at the convenience stores as well, so just cigarettes alone. So there's still a lot of exposure, unfortunately.
Are the youth of today, are they kind of drifting away from actual cigarettes and going to the vaping? I feel like that's going on. Is that the trend for young people?
It was the trend, yeah. So that was the concern with the vapor products, especially the flavored vapor products. As Joey had mentioned, that the flavor really attracts the kids, but the nicotine addicts them.
In addition to the laws here in New York State, haven't there been some national laws or executive orders about the sale of the flavored vaping products?
Not that I'm aware of. I know New York has been very proactive, which is wonderful. I don't if maybe some of the other team members have something to share. Nope, I think we're good. I think, it's New York State, fortunately, has been very proactive with that.
Now, maybe Kelly can also talk about, was there a lot of or any pushback from the local pharmacies, from the pharmacy chains? Because obviously people were coming in, they were buying this product. It was probably a revenue generator for some pharmacies. Was there a statewide pushback from pharmacies, or were they all pretty happy to follow the new law?
I'm not aware of any pushback, and we know CVS had stopped selling tobacco quite a while ago. So I think pharmacies were kind of leading in that direction anyways. Even some smaller privately owned pharmacies had taken that initiative a while back. So I think it was trending in that direction for a while.
That's good to know. If you're just tuning in this morning, you are listening to Community Issues on the Adirondack Broadcasting family of stations. We're speaking with a group from the Adirondack Health Institute, Kelly Owens, Nancy Gildersleeve, Joey Boswell, and Mary Rudinger, and we appreciate them taking the time to get on the line with us here this morning. We're talking about the new law that went into effect on May 18th about the ban of the sale of flavored e-cigarettes and all tobacco products at pharmacies in New York State. And we had talked off the air, Kelly, about some new regulations coming down the pike effective July 1st. Do you want to jump into those and let us know what we should expect?
Definitely. So effective on July 1st, there will be no longer allowed to have price discounts. So retail environments are no longer able to offer multi-pack discounts or coupons and discounts. And that's long been a tactic to attract new users and maintain an existing customer base. And another initiative that's coming into effect on July 1st is the restriction of shipping to a home address. So no longer can individuals purchase products online and have it shipped to their house.
And this is just New York State, correct?
That is correct, yes. Yeah, so that'll be a really important protection for our youth as well.
Do you feel a lot of young people were buying things off the internet and actually sending it to their home? I would think back in the day, if my parents would ever see something in the mailbox that I shouldn't have, they'd be all over me. But you're saying some teenagers might be buying off the internet and having it shipped right to their home?
Yeah, so we know that with speaking with youth, that youth have told us that because they get home before their parents, some of them ride the bus or some of them walk home, that it's easier for them to actually get home first before the parents. So if they do order that online Juul or that e-cigarette product, that they'll actually get there before the parent, and then they can actually go inside, hide it in their room, so that way the parent or the guardian actually doesn't know that they actually have that product in the house. Most of the youth that we've talked to, too, when it comes to the online sales, we know that was the easiest way to get an e-cigarette product because there wasn't really an age verification process that was online. Some of the age verification processes that were going on was that they would log in. It would pop up that little question box to say, are you over the age of 21? If you hit no, it would keep redirecting you back to that same box over and over and over again until you actually said yes. Once you said yes, then you could actually go in and look at all of those e-cigarette products, look at all of the vaping juices, pretty much anything and everything that the site had to offer. So then that youth could then go on, they could put whatever they wanted inside their cart. Once they get to the cart, that's kind of when the quote-unquote age restriction or verification comes into play, where it would then ask for the first name, last name, your home address. And some of those websites would check like county records to make sure that your age was actually verified. Well, when talking with kids, we actually found out that they put their parents' first and last name and their home address, which then automatically said that, yes, they're over the age of 21, so therefore they can then ship the product to their house, get it before the parents get home, and then be able to hide that. We know that they're really good at hiding stuff, too, because if you go on YouTube there's a lot of crazy stuff that's on there, and youth are actually teaching other youth how to hide those products. So, we try to keep those parents aware and up to date on what they can do to help, figure out if your youth or your child is utilizing one of those products by looking at some of those videos, because they've gotten pretty good at hiding that stuff from their parents.
Yeah, and Joey, I'm glad you brought up YouTube. And I was one of the questions I was thinking about was obviously when you talk about teens, I mean the whole social media factor, which was not a factor, 20 years ago and more. I mean, how does social media play into all this? Like you said, on YouTube, you can actually find videos of how to hide certain products from your parents. That's amazing. But how does the whole social media with teens? How does that play into their tobacco use?
Well, I think it actually it makes it it kind of culturalizes it, because I mean, if we look back when tobacco first came out and we started looking at it from a TV perspective, cigarettes were allowed on TV all the time. They were allowed in cartoon advertisements. They were allowed in radio, newspaper, on TV all the time. So it's kind of a bigger platform when it comes to social media for those youth to actually see other people utilizing those products, because then it almost culturalizes it, and it's kind of embedding it into our culture that it's a social norm and that it's okay. When we know that even looking at the facts, when we're looking at how much nicotine is actually inside of those products, especially Juul specifically, that's a whole pack's worth of cigarettes worth of nicotine inside that one itty-bitty Juul pod. And we know that when talking with youth, that youth are going through those Juul pods at least 2 or 3 a day. That means you're going through at least 2 to 3 packs worth of cigarettes worth of nicotine. That's a high rate of nicotine that is going to lead to a long-term addiction, especially when you look at the science behind it. So social media, it has its good and its bad, right, for anything. But I think when we're looking at youth tobacco rates, it's a little concerning, because now it is normalizing that smoking, especially if they're seeing their friends utilizing it or seeing other young people using it. They're going to think that there's no harm inside of it. So it kind of makes it difficult to have that open, honest conversation with those youth about the actual dangers and the actual evidence that's behind those products. So I think by using social media, too, maybe we can use that platform, too, to actually educate those youth about what the actual facts are and how it is harmful. So, there's always a double-edged sword there, because there is some good, but then there also is some bad that goes with that.
Hey, Mary, since you're involved with the reality check and the local high school groups, did prior to perhaps the school year ending, were some of the students working on some social media programs to spread the information out about how dangerous the products are?
So we have had our reality check youth share some messaging via social media before. We were working potentially on a type of campaign. We were going to launch bumper stickers as well as messaging so that it could be shared on different platforms. But currently, we're just sharing information on social media about the new laws and things that are going into effect. Largely, AHI has been publishing that, and we've been asking youth if they would like to share. So that's what we've got going on. It's been a little bit crazy and hectic with trying to keep up with the youth during this time that we are a little bit disconnected, and also focus on mental health and well-being, because there is a lot going on right now.
Do the reality check programs, do they kind of shut down in the summer months? Or is it completely kind of shut down until the school year starts back up?
No, so we usually do several activities over the summer just to keep everybody involved and interested in what we've got going on. However, this summer is obviously a bit different than in the past. We're not sure when we're going to be able to get together in person. So everything's kind of up in the air at this point. I am continuing to get in touch with youth via text and call and email as well, surprisingly. So as soon as it allows it and the students feel comfortable that they would like to attend meetings again, then we'll be ramping those efforts back up.
That's good. Hey, Joey, you had mentioned a specific brand, Juul, which I think, as far as vaping goes, is the most well-known brand. Are they the Goliath of the vaping industry?
I mean, yeah, you could say that. I mean, we know that it's the number one e-cigarette brand amongst youth, and it's been like that since 2015, since its launch. Coming into AHI, I've been involved in the tobacco control program for about 3 years now, where I was actually working with youth just like Mary was in another catchment area as a reality check coordinator. So, I got to spend a lot of time with the youth within St. Lawrence, Jefferson, and Lewis County, especially when that epidemic started happening. And what we were seeing amongst youth that, nearly 40% or higher, a higher percentage of youth are utilizing those products. And when we would go into schools and talk with youth, that would be the first name that they would drop, is that they were utilizing the Juul product. So that's a huge concern for us in tobacco control because, like I said earlier, that one little pod has a full pack's worth of nicotine. That's 20 cigarettes worth of nicotine inside that one little Juul pod. That's really concerning, and especially because our youth are so young that we know that the brain doesn't fully develop until the age of 25. And we also know that through scientific studies that if you introduce nicotine into the brain at a very young age, it actually changes the brain chemistry. It actually rewires it. So therefore, it causes a nicotine addiction. And part of our program, too, that we want people to know is that, if you are a smoker, we're not here to call you out or to make you feel like you need to stop right now or to feel like we're coming after you. That's not our job, right? Our whole job is to hold the tobacco companies accountable for what they're doing and expose the lies and the devious marketing tactics that they are putting out there for kids to try the product. Because, like Juul and the other tobacco companies like Marlboro, Camel, Newport, they're not going after adults. They're going after teenagers. We know that the average age of a new smoker is 13 years old, and that nearly 90% of all smokers try a tobacco product before the age of 18. So that's kind of our whole goal is we want to make sure that we're protecting our youth, whether that's from secondhand exposure or that's from marketing. So that's kind of the big deal right now. Now with vaping, it's even harder because it is a huge trend amongst youth right now. And as we know, youth tend to think that they're invincible and that nothing's really going to hurt them. So when you try to give them the education, it's kind of a pushback because of social media, because there are a lot of lies that are put out there by the tobacco companies. So those kids are kind of latching onto those lies. So it's kind of hard to get those facts to them. But, our whole goal is to have an open, honest conversation with adults, also with those teenagers, to, give them the facts and to let them know that, we are here to give you the truth. We're not going to lie to you. We're going to give you the facts, and we want to have that open, honest conversation with them.
In addition to the vaping companies, I know Reality Check has always kind of been focused on Hollywood and celebrities who have promoted using of tobacco products. Is that still a factor? I mean, I know people aren't going to movie theaters, or they haven't gone at least in a long time. The drive-ins are open up now, but is Hollywood part of the problem of this entire issue?
Yes, Hollywood definitely kind of glamorizes what tobacco use looks like. They always have. That is still one of the initiatives that we focus on. Actually, in February, before everything kind of blew up with COVID, we had a smoke-free movie event in which Reality Check Youth at the Sierra Wood Theater put on a free movie showing to illustrate that we can have fun and nice family movies without cigarettes and other tobacco imagery within those movies. So when a child or a youth of any age really sees it on the screen, they're much more likely, obviously, to try that activity, especially when a favorite character does it. So trying to reduce that imagery on the screen and then also rate smoking and other tobacco product imagery are, and just kind of give that warning that, hey, there's smoking in this, and it probably isn't appropriate for all age groups and audiences. Additionally, as we mentioned earlier with social media, there's been issues with Juul actually got busted for having social media influencers and having that being pushed and promoted on different social media sites. So that is something I've heard was huge from my youth. They were really concerned. Why am I seeing this on Instagram? Why am I seeing this on Facebook? It felt kind of uncomfortable to them, and that's part of the reason that they found their voice was because celebrities and influencers and the movies were all promoting these products.
Hey, Kelly, I know you've been successful with the pharmacies, obviously, with the new law that took effect on May 18th. How are the vape shops, here in the North Country and all over the state, which it seems like you can't go too far without seeing a vape shop? Are they pretty good at checking IDs and making sure teens do not get those products?
Since the law has gone into effect, I think a lot of the vape shops have been closed. So it'll be interesting once things are opening up again, what the process will be and what the feedback that we hear from the vape shops is.
Now they can sell their own vaping and juices. And again, I'm not a vapor. I don't know much of the terminology, but they can sell some of their products. But again, they have an over 21 limit. People have to be over 21 to buy those products. Correct?
That is correct. Yes.
When you see all the vape shops that will be reopening, if they haven't already, do you think that, say, prior to the COVID-19, when they all closed, did you get the feel that they were really adhering to checking IDs and things like that?
Some of their perspective, unfortunately, was no, that the number was rather low that were checking IDs. So it will be interesting once reopening starts and the limitation on selling flavored vapor products, what that will bring.
Yeah, I mean, all these shops are privately owned, so we hope that they're definitely adhering to the laws, and I'm sure many are very, very responsible and really, making sure teens do not get these products. We are speaking to the folks today from Adirondack Health Institute. You're listening to Community Issues on the Adirondack Broadcasting group of radio stations. We're speaking with Kelly Owens, Nancy Gildersleeve, Joey Boswell, and Mary Rudinger. We have a few minutes left. Guys, are there other endeavors going on this summer and going into the fall that we should know about?
We're waiting for everything to open up again. At this point, we've been having a lot of meetings virtually and communicating with our youth and policymakers virtually as well. So we're hopeful to try to continue those discussions at some point in an in-person environment. And with the laws that go into effect, certainly on July 1st, we'll also continue to monitor and continue to try to impact change. Mary talked about smoke-free movies, so there's still work to be done with smoking imagery in movies as well. So there's a lot of work that we'll continue to work on in the coming months.
If there's a parent or a grandparent listening this morning who wants to get more information about this, maybe they have a child that they suspect might be using vape products, or a grandchild or a friend or whatever the case may be, is there places where they can find out a lot more information? Where do you steer them?
Yeah, so there's a wide range of different things that they can do. They can go to New York State, to the Quit line, which you can simply type that into Google and just put New York State Quit line. If you click search, it'll pop it right up. Those are our partners that we work with directly, so they'll be able to help either a youth or even an adult, figure out what is your quitting plan. And then there are also tobacco cessation specialists that they'll be able to talk to on the line, so that way they can kind of guide them in the right direction on where they want to go with their avenue of trying to quit. There's also another great opportunity for youth ages 13 to 24, and it's called Drop the Vape. So it's a texting service because we know that a lot of teens don't want to talk on the phone. So the Truth Initiative has actually created this texting opportunity where they can text Drop the Vape, DROPTHEVAPE, to the number 88709. Again, that's Drop the Vape to 88709. And what this will do is they'll text that number. It'll then come back, and they'll just have a conversation about what their options are, so that way they can then have some support as they're trying to quit those products. We also know that parents can also have another texting app as well. So any parent that thinks that their student or their youth might be vaping or utilizing a tobacco product, they can actually text QUIT to the number 202-899-7550. Again, that's QUIT to the number 202-899-7550. So you've got two texting options. You can also go to the New York State Quit line. There's also a phone number there. So there's a multitude of different resources that parents and youth can utilize, because we know that nicotine is one of the hardest things to overcome. So there's a lot of options out there. They can also contact us, too, at AHI as well. They can just ask for the CASA team, and we'd be glad to give them that information as well, or even if they want to have an open, honest conversation about, what is kind of going on in the world of and what our program has to offer.
We've been speaking this morning to the group from the Adirondack Health Institute, Kelly Owens, Nancy Gildersleeve, Joey Boswell, Mary Rudinger. Guys, we're going to have you come back in, because I'm sure there's a lot more information we have to tap into, but thank you so much for jumping on the phone this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us. It was great to be here.
Thanks for listening to Community Issues. This is a local public affairs presentation of Adirondack Broadcasting. If your local nonprofit organization would be interested in being part of this program for a future broadcast, please call Mike Morgan at 518-615-1007. That's Mike Morgan at 518-615-1007. Leave a message with details and your phone number, and he'll call you right back. Thank you for supporting our North Country community with Adirondack Broadcasting.